All right, joining me right now on DIRTRACKR Conversations, Josh Holt. Josh, you are the Director of Marketing for MyRacePass, is that correct?
Correct. Director of Sales and Marketing and one of the co-founders and co-owners, I should say.
So I wanted to have you on the show. I want to kind of know the whole MyRacePass story, and I guess I'm not really sure where is a good place to start, but I guess maybe just off the bat, like what's the elevator pitch for MyRacePass? Like, is there a way to just like give like a one sentence or a couple of sentence like explanation of what MyRacePass is?
That's so hard. You run into a situation where you got to have that elevator speech all the time, and you think I'd have it down by now. But essentially, what we are, we're a software / marketing company in motorsports. We target the motorsports industry, and that's who our main demographic is. And grassroots motorsports, so everything below your NASCAR, Formula One, IndyCar, that kind of stuff. The bulk of the iceberg, I should say. We do websites. We have software that racetracks use. A lot of times I'll just simply say when it comes to race day and leading up to race day, we have everything that a racetrack would ever need. We help, and then the byproduct of that is all of our stuff funnels into one spot. So we have all the thousands of fans in the new MyRacePass app that came out a few years ago. Each and every weekend, be able to follow along with their favorite drivers and favorite tracks and series and that kind of stuff. So in a nutshell, what we are is we're a software company that is in marketing for motorsports, and we try to make the sport better. We try to engage that race fan, and that's what it's all about.
I guess probably if fans haven't gotten the MyRacePass app yet, probably the place where they've run into you the most is with the track websites. Do you have any idea how many track websites you guys do at this point?
The number at one point was around that 230 range. Since our conception, or what do you want to call it, we'll probably talk about that in a little bit. We've built nearly 1,000 websites. We'd actually just developed a relationship. It was actually one of our competitors for many years, but also a close friend for a lot of years, Firethorn Marketing. Just last year, we devised or put together a plan where, he's got about 150 some odd websites that he's done. He's been in the business for a long time, a great guy, great support guy, great developer. And instead of working against each other, we decided to work with each other. So, moving forward, he's working on building websites on the MyRacePass framework. It gives him a lot of options for his clients, and it also eliminated that barrier of the loyalty that he had and the loyalty that we had. So now a single track can go to either one of us and get great support and a great product.
Well, I guess then let's go ahead and jump back to kind of the beginning. I know you guys all kind of have varied backgrounds, but how did the three of you guys get together? And it's you, it's Ross, and it's Zach, right? That were the three co-founders.
Yeah, you did your homework. I'm impressed.
Yeah. So give me the story of how the three of you guys know each other and kind of like how this thing gets started.
Well, it's actually quite a funny story, or quite a crazy story, I should say. I call it the lottery draw. So when we're all about the same age. We're in our mid 30s, and we all went to school about the same time. But like for me, I went to school at SDSU, South Dakota State University in Brookings, South Dakota, and I had the option to pick who I wanted to be with in my dorm room, but I didn't. I just said whatever. A long story short, one of the guys in there, his name was Levi, and he was a drummer. I was a drummer. He was a drummer in a band, so him and I clicked. And one of the guys that was with the band that did some stuff on the music side, but then also was the kind of their tech guy that built their website and stuff, was Zach. So that's how Zach and I met initially. Now, we got to be good friends and started talking about a lot of stuff. Well, then in the midst of all that, his lottery draw was essentially Ross. And they both went to school at Dakota State University in Madison, South Dakota for computer science. Me, I went to school for engineering to start with and then switched to business. And just so everybody knows, I'm not a developer. I don't know how that stuff works. But I leave it up to my two great partners, Ross and Zach. But that's how we met. And then so that's why I call it the lottery draw. If it wasn't for Levi, he knows this. I tell him this all the time. We still talk to this day. If it wasn't for him, none of this would ever exist. So it's pretty cool how it all came together. But then moving forward, it was like October 12th, I want to say, of 2007. Zach and I were sitting at a bar, actually, with a buddy of ours' birthday party. And I was so my background is marketing and motorsports. So I raced sprint cars for a lot of years. Before that, I raced go-karts for a lot of years. And we never had a lot of money growing up. Same story here from a lot of people. The only way I could afford to race is get the names on the side of the car. And I learned real fast that you needed to provide, that ROI, that return on investment, to be able to get bigger names on the side of the car and keep those names on the side of the car and turn them into bigger partners. So I was doing some racing resumes, so like racing portfolios for myself, and that obviously turned into some more drivers. Well, Zach, him and our other partner Ross, they had a company called B&R Computers. They were doing tech stuff, IT work. They built a few websites. And when Zach and I got together, we were talking about just websites in general for race car drivers, and and if you remember back in late '07, that's when Mark really had Facebook going. It was really taking off.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought it'd be cool. We kind of want to do a Facebook for motorsports. Well, obviously you can't build something like that and expect 1 million people to be on it right away.
Mm-hmm.
So we knew we needed to get a footprint in the industry. And so we started doing, reaching out to friends of mine, people that I've raced against, people that I've raced with. And, we looked at the market about websites, and there's a few people out there doing them. So we thought, well, we'll price it this way. We'll try to get a bunch out the door and then try to work towards the bigger goal. And what was fun there is, I call it our freshman 15, because our first year we sold like 18 websites to drivers. And then that in turn, because we started the company Driver Websites, which a lot of the people in the open wheel world has heard that name.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've evolved, to where, from that we started going to the Chili Bowl. The Hahn family became clients of ours with the ASCS website and that kind of stuff, or in the Chili Bowl website, Tulsa Shootout website. We did that, I think, in 2010. And when Lonnie Wheatley was still there working for ASCS. And that really, we attribute a lot to them, because that really helped us kind of get going when we started going to the Chili Bowl. We got in front of a lot of drivers. There wasn't a ton of competition with what we were doing. And we had a new way of doing things with the database-driven websites, the ability to update your own website yourself. That was kind of the main goals right from the get-go with the driver websites. And that's, I got a lot more to talk about, but I'll let you chime in from there.
Well, I guess, kind of in all of this, where did your kind of driving career come to an end? And then with Ross and Zach, were they race fans kind of from the start as well?
So Ross is one of the biggest race fans I know. And Zach's been to a lot of races, and he's not as big of a fan as, as him or I, as Ross or I. But myself, my career, one of the things I did is in 2012, I bought the lease to a racetrack in Northwest Iowa, in Rock Rapids, Iowa. And I ran that. It was always a dream of mine to do that, run a racetrack. And then for the other thing was I knew it'd be a very kind of like a semester of school for us with the company of what we want to do. So Ross and Zach were there each and every Friday night. I was showing them things that the problems that we have as far as running a racetrack, as far as, the scoring, as far as the back gate, as far as registration, as far as just simple marketing stuff. How do we incorporate the website to do more and more for the promoters? And that was a big year for us. It was honestly a very expensive year for me, but it was a good year for the company, and we had a lot came out of that. I mean, a ton of development and a new wave of how we learned how to do things came out of that year. And that was kind of essentially the birth of our race management system, was that season.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what, there's over 500 organizations across the U.S. using that system today. So it was 2012 when I took on the racetrack. To answer your question, I sold my stuff, sold my racing stuff. And that was honestly the hardest thing I could ever do, personally, because when I grew up, my brother raced sprint cars for a lot of years. He actually raced non-wing sprint cars out in Indiana for quite a while. And from South Dakota, that's where I'm from originally. And when I got into go-karts, I was 6. Moved into sprint cars when I was 14. I won my first race, 6 races in at Nobles County Speedway in Worthington, Minnesota. And I'll never forget that night. And actually beat Justin Henderson off the line. So him and I joke about that from time to time. I think more I joke about it, and he just kind of gets mad when we talk about it. But and then that was it. And then since then, I've always wanted to drive again. I got Ross into a go-kart. We've been doing some fun stuff there, racing some asphalt go-kart. And Margay put together a new class called the Ignite Series. It's a Briggs LO 206, and we get to travel around to some cool places. We got Tony Bachhoven into it last year, and
Nice.
And so the 3 of us, and then Jeff Scales with AFCO, we all got into it. Went out to Indianapolis Motor Speedway and raced there, and that was pretty cool. But it's hard on the personal side as a driver, because any driver will tell you this who hasn't raced doesn't race anymore, that sitting in the stands is the hardest thing you could ever do.
Hmm.
Because you always got that, well, if I was out there, I could totally do better than that guy, but it's always easier said than done. But it's been hard, but maybe someday you might see me behind the wheel again. We'll see.
I'm curious, like, as you guys kind of get rolling and doing driver websites, how long did it take before it was like really kind of a viable business? And like, were you guys able to kind of quit your day jobs and be able to just do that?
Well, luckily, the three of us had really strong work ethic. We worked our tails off, and we paid ourselves nothing the first, quite a couple of years, a few years actually. Zach is a very skilled carpenter, so he was building homes, and he builds cabinets, really nice stuff, and so he was able to do that on the side. I had a construction company. We were building grain bins all over the country, so I was fortunate there that we had some revenue coming in that way. And Ross has been in IT forever. He had a really good job, working at a place at Madison there, and doing some front end development type stuff. And so we were in a good spot to be able to do what we did, and we did everything kind of part time. But I think it was just over a year before we all dived in full time and was like, okay, let's make it happen.
Hmm.
And I'm not gonna lie, it was tough. We were paying ourselves, very little, just enough to barely get by. And but we knew we had a big picture in mind, and we knew we needed to work hard, and we were working 60, 70, 80, 90 hours a week, trying to get stuff out and try to get that footprint as big as we possibly could, as fast as we possibly could. And that was our main goal with a limited budget. I mean, we started this company with each of us throwing in $250. We haven't put any more money in there essentially out of our own pocket since. So so that part has been good. But then it wasn't really, to really answer your question, it was probably 2011 that really set us off. It was kind of the birth of MyRacePass, though we didn't know what the name of it was then. And we sold, I think we did 140 some websites that year. I was busy on the sales side, and I was doing the design work at the time too. So the Zach and Ross were pounding out stuff left and right. We were launching websites, but 2011 is where driver websites really started to get a name. And then that's also when we started doing more and more racetrack websites and opening up in 2012, like I said, kind of broadened our product line with our race management system. But it was definitely a struggle. It was a struggle for a long time there. But, like I said, we had a goal in mind. We knew where we wanted to be. And it's been fun, and we'll get to this, but it's been fun here the last couple of years seeing it all come together.
Yeah, I guess, kind of just the natural progression is, when do things kind of go from driver websites and then kind of go and kind of maybe morph into MyRacePass, and, kind of what's the thought process as things kind of move and change there?
Well, so we started MyRacePass. We actually started a separate company. It would have been in 2013 is when we actually launched MyRacePass. MyRacePass, all that was supposed to be was we called it a hurdle. We knew we had to do a bunch of stuff to get over that to get to where we want to be with MyRacePass, and we started offering the MyRacePass profiles at $10 a month. Drivers can come on board and get their MyRacePass profile, kind of like a Facebook page. It was a free profile, and then you could do other stuff for just $10 a month, and we started getting that going. How that eventually changed then was a lot of big things happened. Our race management software was growing. We had probably, 150 to 180 some tracks and race series utilizing our software. It was
Can I interrupt you for just 1 second?
Yeah.
For people that don't know what race management software is, can you give a quick explainer about what that is?
Sure. Quick version of race management is pretty simple. It starts everything from online registration at the start of the season all the way down to getting your tax forms ready for 1099s. But the gut of it is, so a racetrack, we use our software. So every driver maybe there are drivers out there that hasn't heard of MyRacePass, you all got to go to the pit gate. You all got to buy a pit pass. You all got to draw a pill out of the Crown Royal bag or a poker chip out of the Crown Royal bag. And then you get your lineups. You race your qualifying races, and you get your lineups for your semi-features and your A features. And at the end of all that, you have points calculated and payouts put together. Well, what MyRacePass does is automate all of that and give them a one spot, a web version software or web-based software that you could. We've had scorers score from their couches at home. or do the processes. So that's, in a nutshell, that's what race management is. It basically helps the racetracks just help get through their night. And then it obviously widens out with online registration. It widens out with our online ticket sales. It widens out with some of the marketing stuff that we have, including websites. But race management is simply, it just manages their night of racing. When it comes to lineups, we have a couple hundred lineups created. So there's always a racetrack that has some kind of special lineup. All drivers are different. They all like the different types of lineups, and all promoters are different. And we definitely have some crazy ones out there. But so in a nutshell, that's what race management is.
Yeah, so like you guys, kind of, you've got MyRacePass kind of going off on the side as one thing, but then, at some point you kind of start bringing that all together. So like, what was the kind of thought process, and when did that kind of light bulb moment happen? It's like, oh, maybe we can just kind of combine all of these things together.
Well, it would have been, so we all worked from home up until like April of 2014. We decided we needed to bring someone on board. We needed some help. We probably did that a year too late. We needed some help. And we could see kind of the direction of where things were going, that our race management system was a real big, that was the ticket. I mean, that's what racetracks would look at and be like, okay, that's great. And since from day one, when Zach and Ross developed, our system, it's always been a database driven system. So everything kind of talked to each other. I always explain it this way: like, if you tag your buddy on Facebook, it shows up on their profile or their page. MyRacePass works a very similar way. Driver websites did back then. We just didn't have it called MyRacePass. So the aha moment was essentially, because we knew race management was such a big draw. We knew we needed to get a stranglehold of the rest of the market, or work towards getting more and more tracks and series on board, so we could devise better products and develop better product, develop better software. Well, there's some racers out there, it's been a while now, but there's some racers out there and a lot of scorers out there who used to use a software called SpeedNet. There was speednetdirect.com, and that was a website that a company that two guys started out of Florida like 15 years ago. And they were a race management software. That's all they did. And then they front-faced some results on their website and whatnot. They had, at one point, throughout time, there's over 800 tracks that use that software. The business came up for sale, and we knew that was the right move. So a lot happened there. We were ready to make a big jump. We were looking at different places to move the business to. Sioux Falls at the time didn't really offer everything that we were looking for. We looked at Charlotte, we looked at Indianapolis, we looked in California, and then realized that's too expensive. We looked at Austin, Texas, and then we had some friends down there and down here in Lincoln. And so the fall of 2015, a lot happened. The fall of 2015, we decided to move our company and one of our employees to Lincoln, Nebraska. We bought that company, SpeedNet. We bought SpeedNet, and we hired, like, I don't know, 4 people in the next 4 months, and then another 6 after that. It was kind of crazy, because we were we needed to make that boom. It was now or never. It was time to crap or get off the pot, so to speak. And we did that. And that was the fall of 15. And it's been, so then when we did that, we bought SpeedNet. We combined the two companies, driver websites and MyRacePass, and we moved to Lincoln, Nebraska. And we did all that like in a 45-day time frame, and then we moved forward, obviously, with the name MyRacePass. And so it's, quite honestly, since then, it's been a whirlwind.
How many people work for MyRacePass now?
Honestly, there's just 10 of us that are basically full-time, and then we have quite a handful of others that do some contracted work for us, and we have people all over the world, for that matter, that help contribute to MyRacePass. And front facing, there are 10 of us that do great things at the company, and that's a whole nother conversation. We went through, at one point we had 19 full-time people. We had to do that ramp up for a couple of reasons, and I'm not afraid to say it, but we wanted to find the right people, find the good people for your team, and when we bought SpeedNet, there was a lot of transitional stuff. And when we bought SpeedNet, we didn't really do much for the first year. We just kind of wanted to let it ride and just see how 2016 rolled out, and then realize at the end, throughout that time, do we put more assets into MyRacePass? Do we put more assets into SpeedNet? What do we do? At the end of it all, we realized we needed to, get off of SpeedNet, get onto MyRacePass, and put all the time and energy into that. And that whole process, that takes a lot of development. That takes a lot of, sales and support staff. So that we really ramped up there. And then from that, we were able to generate a team that we have now that is, I think everyone but our latest designer has been with us over 4 years now. We brought on another designer and front end developer, Nolan, about 2 years or 2.5 years ago. So it's been, the team itself is, I couldn't be happier. I mean, our whole team works very well together, and has proven here the last few months, which I'll get into that a little bit. But I don't know if I think I got off track there and I missed your question, but.
No, you answered. I was just asking how many people you had and kind of what the team looked like. But one of the things that I always kind of, I worked for the World of Outlaws for 7 years and was the kind of the main web developer for a lot of that. But the slow transition that dirt racing kind of has with technology and has had with technology is for somebody like me, and I'm for sure for you guys is really frustrating at times. And I'm curious, especially kind of in the early days and when you're trying to get, people on websites and get them to use your race management software, like how difficult was that slog to kind of get tracks to kind of buy into the technology?
Well, that's certainly not past tense, because that's certainly going forward even today.
Yeah.
We talk about motorsports in general. You take out the top tip of the iceberg. Take out NASCAR, F1, IndyCar, that kind of stuff. I'm talking grassroots, the bulk of the iceberg. Motorsports is just behind in time when it comes to technology. We just are.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with it. That's just how it is. To put it bluntly, before we started driver websites, I rarely sent an email myself. I'm an old racer guy, right? And which has helped. It helps with that transition, because I'm talking to someone who's on kind of my level of technology, right? I mean, I had ideas and visions and stuff just like Zach and Ross did, but the difference was that Zach and Ross could actually do it. I had no clue. I just knew I wanted to get from point A to point B somehow. And but when you talk to promoters, there's a lot of older promoters, great promoters that do great things, and putting it bluntly, times change over time, and there's always things that have worked 30 years ago that will work today, but there are some things that worked 30 years ago that will not work today. And keeping up with the times, you're battling so many different things, trying to get fans in the stands. There's so much more of a monthly expense to the families today than there was 30 years ago or 20 years ago. Engaging that fan, Facebook has been a big role in motorsports for years. But one thing that one of the reasons, or one of the things that with the app getting developed is, I was standing on the scoring tower one time, and everybody's looking down on their phones, looking at Facebook and Twitter and whatnot. And I was like, well, that sucks. We need to find a way to where we can get the race fans engaged into what's going on in the racetrack the whole time they're sitting here. And that's the idea behind MyRacePass. I mean, we're trying to engage that race fan. We're trying to provide tools that promoters buy our software to help them through their race plan, but then the byproduct of that is so many more things that they can take advantage of that they don't even know they're taking advantage, that's providing that race fan that much more engagement. And the transition is still tough. We talk to tracks all over the country. Like I said, there's well over 500 organizations that use our software, and it's a learning curve. We have some tracks that get it right off the bat, and life is great, and they get all pieces of MyRacePass. They're using it. Everything is fantastic. And there's some tracks that they need to ease into it a little bit. So their first year might be a little rocky, and we try to provide the best support we possibly can. But you gotta want to change. Change is always tough, but you gotta want to change and want to take the time to learn some things. And so we do everything we possibly can to help them through the process. And the nice thing is I've been in their shoes. I've been a driver, been a promoter at 2 different places. And so, I mean, some of the complications that they go through, I understand. And personnel is always difficult, especially at a racetrack that races 18 shows a year, because you're relying on 20 to 40 people to be there 18 weekends out of the year, and they throw away their summers. So we try to find ways to where, it just makes that less painful, mm-hmm. and without breaking the bank as well. So, I mean, it's all about it's all about easing into it, and there are promoters out there too that are like, man, I know I'm behind the times in technology. We need to do everything we can. There's a lot of broadcasters out there that see this every day. What do we need to do to get up to speed? And then we help them with that. So
How has it been like when you go to somewhere like PRI, like, kind of fast forward to more present day, now that MyRacePass is out there more, people kind of understand what it is you guys do. Is that sales process a little easier now because, you've got a little bit of a brand now and people actually, there's a ton of people out there that are using your software?
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's no different than any other company. Whenever you get some traction, get some brand recognition, and get some good positive use cases and good user feedback, I mean, it's always going to make the sales process easier. What it was this year has been a wild year. We all know that.
For everyone, yeah.
For everyone, 2020 is a year that we'll never forget, but we'll want to forget for the rest of our lives. And luckily for us and for a lot of racetracks out there, we were able to help with that a lot. Providing, with our online registration or our automated, computerized, whatever you want to call it, pill draw scenario, or online tickets has been a big hit here. Trying to keep up with all the health codes and whatever with all the COVID crap going on. So that's helped a ton. But even before that, I mean, when we went into PRI, most racetracks, just about every racetrack that walked up to us and was wondering, who are you guys? What do you do? That wasn't the case anymore. It was like, okay, I've seen this racetrack over here use us. All my drivers are telling us we need to use it. All my fans are telling me we need to use it. Tell me how to get started. So the sales process there has been obviously a lot smoother, but at the same token, it's, we need to keep on our toes. We need to keep developing new product, more fluent, more intuitive software so people can just pick up on it and go. And that's one of the things that the team is so great at, to be able to provide the best case scenario, best experience possible for them promoters, for them scorers out there. Because if they're doing a good job, it's going to make everybody's lives easier. The drivers love it. The fans love it. There's so many other things out there that they can take advantage of with MyRacePass that, but you're right. I mean, now we got, a couple 100,000 people on the app every weekend. We're, in just about every state now, as far as some level of MyRacePass, some clients using it in some capacity, even Hawaii, and Alaska. So that's been cool. And, so yeah, I mean, it's come a long ways in the last, it's come a really long ways in the last 4 years, but it's come a long ways in the last year and a half.
When you kind of look back over the history of all of it, all the way back to driver websites and getting started, are there like a couple of like inflection points that like stand out to you as like, oh, like maybe we've got something here, like maybe, oh, you notice somebody maybe using a website or using an app and you're like, hey, we built that, like this person doesn't even, like they don't even know the story behind this, but like, do you have a couple of those moments through all of this that really stand out to you?
Yeah, certainly. One of the big ones that I remember is we developed a website called sprintsource.com. We did that. I think we launched that back in 2000. Shoot, it might have been, it was either late 2010 or early 2011. I can't really remember for sure. But that was the first front-facing side of what MyRacePass at the time was. So if you had a website through us and you were a race car driver and you were a sprint car driver, the data pulled forward to sprintsource.com. And so all the drivers that had websites from us, all the tracks that had websites from us that had sprint car related content would show up automatically. I mean, as soon as they push enter or whatever on their site for a news article, that news article would show up on SprintSource, all super fast and automatically. And we were at I forget where I was, but I was just playing Race Fan. That was before, I mean, nobody knew who we were, anything like that. And there was a guy talking to another buddy of his, and we were in line at the beer stand, to be quite frank about it. And there was a guy, oh, I found this new website. It's got all the sprint car related stuff. I don't have any of that, modified crap on there. Blah, 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 blah. I can find one spot. And that's not me saying that. That's the guy saying, I'm just telling the story. He said, well, the one guy says, well, what is it? He said, well, I can't remember for sure. And he pulled it up and it's SprintSource, sprintsource.com. And I just started smiling because I thought to myself, okay, that's our site, and the idea behind how that works is making an impact, and that's really the biggest one I think that I can remember. Since then, it's every day. When you see new fans come on board, we do some app activation events where we go to bigger events, like for example, we're going to the IMCA Super Nationals coming up here. It's a great showing of some of the greatest modified and stock car drivers across the country. I'll come here for that. There's like 900 cars there.
Mm-hmm.
What's fun there is if you get a new fan, there's a lot of the fans that use us already, but if you get a new fan there and we show them a handful of things real quick, and their face lights up, and they just think that's the coolest thing in the world, and so every day we come across stuff like that, and that's always a good feeling.
I know you're not a tech guy, but as somebody who is a tech guy, the underlying kind of database is something that's super interesting to me. But how do you kind of sell that, like when you're talking to drivers or tracks, like, kind of the magic of that is, and, if you go look at any site that, MyRacePass is involved in, with results and things like that, all of those things kind of end up tying together, whether people realize that or not. But how do you kind of sell that magic when you go talk to somebody?
Well, actually, that's one of the reasons why we built SprintSource.com to begin with, because we had all the data from all the different drivers and stuff, and all the their news articles, their bio information, all public facing stuff, and we needed a place to put it. Before SprintSource, it really was not existent. Once we had SprintSource, and I talked to guys like Brady Bacon, he's been a client of ours for years, and that was one of the things I told him. I says, we got the website SprintSource, and any information you put on there, we're getting X number of hits on SprintSource, and so your information, your sponsors are going to be on there. And nobody ever really understood what the hell all that meant.
Mm-hmm.
But they could see it. If they could see it, they could touch it, they could smell it, and they're like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of cool. It wasn't until, so that's been our SprintSource was my sales tool for a lot of years. And the sprint car world, that's where I grew up, so I knew a lot of the drivers and stuff. And that's kind of how we got started. But after that, once we started launching the profiles on MyRacePass and whatnot, people started to see a little bit about it and about how that worked. But it wasn't until we launched the app before people were like, whoa, okay, that's what these guys have been working on for so long.
Mm-hmm.
This is why they are where they are right now, is because everything is, and this is why I want to be a part of that. We want to have, we got, like I said, a couple 100,000 people in the app. We want to make sure our information is on there. As a driver, we want to make sure our profile is updated, because if it's not, it looks like we're not racing. It looks like I don't care about my sponsors and that kind of stuff. And it wasn't until we launched the app before there were so many people everybody out there was like, okay, this is what they were doing. This is cool.
So you've got race management software right now. You've got the app. You've got, I know you mentioned tickets. You talked about kind of some of the public facing stuff. Am I missing anything? Is that kind of cover all of it?
Well, we also have, so our online ticketing platform has been really big. We've had that going since 2000. I think we did it for Park Jefferson Speedway when I ran that with Adam Adamson in 2014. But right now there's about 240 racetracks across the U.S. that use our ticketing platform. So that's been a big product that comes with the software. There's no additional fees, doesn't cost the promoters anything. Beyond that, for drivers, we have a really cool apparel program, which has been a really big hit. It's direct to garment, so it's a different type of printing style. We worked with the printers for years before we were able to provide a product, because when they first developed direct to garment printing, it was mainly for like the slogan shirts, one color, real easy, real simple. Well, then I brought a 6-color wild and crazy racing shirt, and they're like, whoa, what's this? So we worked with them for a couple of years actually before we were able to have a product that we were comfortable with putting out there. But what's cool about that is it's not necessarily for your Brady Bacons. It's not for your Aaron Reitzels. I mean, Aaron does take advantage of it, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. It's not for your Kyle Larsons, because they're going to have their merchandise trailer, and they're going to they can afford to buy a bulk amount of T-shirts or whatever, and then they can go sell them and they can make good profits off of it. But our program is for guys like me when I first started. It's for 95% of the other racers that are out there. Where when I first started, I couldn't afford to buy a bulk order of shirts from a Canyon or an Arizona or Octane or wherever. I couldn't afford that. But with us, you pay $9 a month or $72 a year with our essential package for a driver. We have a $100 option and a $300 option for the t-shirt design and setup fee. From there, we have a store, mrpmarket.com, and you can go there and the driver has their own store. And we offer like 7 to 9 different types of apparel, like, tank tops, t-shirts, hooded sweatshirts, regular sweatshirts, and all the different colors. So a fan can go there. A driver can promote that on their Facebook page or whatever, send out the link. You can even point a domain name to it. I think I have joshholtapparel.com or something like that. You can buy a t-shirt, but a fan can go there and they pick out the shirt they want. They can select the size, select the color, and when they buy it, 10 to 14 business days, they get their t-shirt in their mailbox. And every 30 days, we essentially put the driver's profits right in their bank account by ACH. And they can make anywhere from $5 a shirt to, I know there's some sweatshirts out there that with a little bit, I think they're making like $12 a sweatshirt. But the biggest thing there is they don't have to do anything. They just got to promote a little bit on social media and get people to go there, and they'll sell some. We've had a situation. We had a sport compact driver. If anybody knows anything about sport compact racing, there's not a lot of money in it. You're not racing for 1,000 or 2,000 or 10,000 to win. You're racing maybe for $100 or something. And he called in as a younger guy. I don't know if he was 20 yet, and just getting started racing and really wanted to have a shirt. And he thought it'd be a really good idea to have a shirt for one of his sponsors. And I told him, I said, well, let's make whatever your racing thing on the front, and let's put your sponsor logo on the back and a couple of things about your sponsor, and let's see what happens. And not an hour after we launched the store and he put it on his Facebook page, his sponsor bought 100 of those shirts.
Nice.
And I think he made $7 a shirt on it. So at $700 he made, he made more money in that one t-shirt sale than he did all year racing sport compact, and he called the next week and was like, man, Josh, I can't believe that just happened. I says, well, that's the power of the web. You never know what can happen. And I guarantee your sponsor's got a big smile on his face, because not only does he have some really cool team shirts, but he's also was able to help you out in a different way. And for other drivers like your Aaron Reitzels and whatnot, we've done a lot of shirts for him and Shelby, and trying different designs, so like seeing what's happening, what's popular. And then if he starts selling a whole crap load of shirts off the marketplace, then he can go take that shirt and go get it, done at wherever he gets it done at screen printing, because it's, we're one-off type sort of apparel, right? So it's going to cost, the wholesale cost is higher, because we're not making so many at once. And they're literally you grab a blank t-shirt off the shelf and print it right there on the spot and put it in a bag and ship it to the customer. So that's been a really big deal, is our apparel program. After that, that's one of the problems we have with MyRacePass is we have such a wide product line. So when we're trying to explain to someone, you're in for some time, because we got so much to talk about. But the biggest thing that I want to make sure we talk about now is something that we've been working on. We've launched it on Sprint Source. We had on Chili Bowl, IRA sprints, all-star sprints years ago, 2012, 13, 14, 15, all the way up even to today. But it was our fantasy racing. We wanted to have that it's one of the things, and we got piles of notebooks, those old 5 subject notebooks you used to have when you were in grade school. We got like 6 of those full of notes of what we want to do. And one of the things in there from way back when was fantasy racing. And we finally got to the point where, we could have had it out sooner, but we kind of timed things the way we try to be strategic about it. And we got that out here just recently, and we're just learning a little bit this year with the fantasy platform on the MyRacePass app. We're just learning, and we have some really cool stuff to come for next year. So this year is just about getting it out, getting out the door, get some feedback on it. That's been our biggest product here lately.
How do you kind of keep up with all of this? It seems like you're kind of going in so many different directions at once. Like, how do you keep an eye on all of these things that are going on?
The only way to answer that is a great team. My 2 partners, Ross and Zach, those guys are just amazing at what they do. Hopefully they say the same thing about me, but I've never but they're just really good, really devoted to what they're doing. And then that's going to stem down, we got great leadership, and you can't, our team, all the guys in the office, our development team, our sales and support staff, our design team, I mean, they're just all 100% in MyRacePass. And any business owner will tell you that's hard to find employees like that are just 100% devoted to what they're doing. They see the big picture. They see what they're wanting to be of. They're on the ground floor of where we're at. And they're all, I mean, all the guys, we're all working from home now, March 19th due to this COVID stuff. We got a really nice office downtown, Lincoln, Nebraska, in the Haymarket. We got our own little football field out there. I mean, it's really, really cool. But we're not going to get rid of it. We're going to keep that, but we're going to keep working from home here for a while. And we wouldn't be able to do that if we didn't have the team that we did. There's some people need some guidance every day. And luckily with our team, it's just, that's the best way to explain it. I mean, without the team that we have, there's no way we'd be able to keep track of everything that we're doing. And, the stuff that, a lot of the stuff kind of came out by accident. Zach, he would just develop and get it out the door. And then we've learned what we did wrong later. That's been our development practice. As you as a developer probably don't like that, but that's been a lot of our practice for a lot of years. We've slowed that down quite a bit here recently. We really took our time with fantasy and a lot of our race management stuff. But we wanted to get it out the door because we believed that it was going to be a strong point. We believed it was going to be a good product. We believed that the fans were going to like it. And so let's get it out there, hurry up and see what it does. And from there we can learn and go from there.
What do those, kind of for Ross and Zach and some of your guys, what do their roles look like? I mean, are those, especially Ross and Zach, are those guys are they coding every day? Are they more kind of in management roles? And how do they kind of split up, who's working on what?
Well, so we have a little software that we use to help with the development process. Not afraid to say it. It's just Jira. It's a software out there that basically timelines. We develop everything in a 2-week sprint platform or method, I guess. Basically, we'll plan for a day and then we'll develop like heck for 5 days, and then we'll decomp, and then we'll release it, and then we'll fix anything we need to fix if there is anything to be fixed, and start our next sprint. Zach, he's your back end, hardcore back end developer guy. I mean, he's the brains behind the database. He's the brains behind a lot of what the development practice and how we do stuff. He bounces stuff off of Ross all the time. Obviously, they talk to me about it, but I look like a deer in headlights. But I've tried to learn a little bit, but I don't need to. I can let those guys worry about it, And then Ross, he's all the front end guy. I mean, he's front end development. He's basically a full stack developer, but I mean, he's all front end. So everything you see generally he's got his fingers on it. The user experience, the user interface, that kind of stuff. That's a lot of what Ross does. And both of them together, kind of manage the development crew, the development team. And we have our main Android developer who's been with us for 4 years now, and he's great. He's come along. We got him on as an intern, and now he's our lead Android developer, and he's essentially a full stack developer as well, and does a lot of back end stuff. And it's been hard for Zach and Ross both to, more so I'm saying that because I know it's hard for me to let other people do some stuff. That's always a hard part when you're bringing on employees and whatnot. But then we got a great QA guy, Nate. He's over there just making sure everything works, and then our Nolan that came on board a couple years ago. He's an awesome graphic artist, designer, and he's also a front end guy too. So he'll work on some stuff. We have our website, MRP Digital Ads, which is a different story, but another company of ours for advertising. He built that one from the ground up using our same back end development, and so that was cool to see. And so that's kind of what they're in charge of that. And then on my side, it's just I got my guys on the sales and support side, and we all know what's going on. We all have our goals for the week or the month or the year or the quarter, and we get together once a week on a meeting. We do our one-on-ones once a week, and we talk obviously throughout the day. And so I let Zach and Ross do their thing on the development side and product development, and then we all get together for that obviously, and then they let me do my side on the sales and marketing thing. And we're kind of like a tripod, and it's been a great relationship from the start. A lot of times you don't see 3 guys, hunking out for what's been going on 13 years now. We don't ever really want to kill each other very often. So that's good. That's always been good. But we like to go golfing. We like to go to races, and we like to hang out. And, obviously life happens the older you get with families and whatnot. But yeah, it's just been a great team.
I'm curious too about kind of like iteration. Like one of the things that I built while I was at World Racing Group is the DIRTRACKR point system that, is doing a lot of the similar things that you guys are, are doing there. But how do you kind of handle that feedback from the racetracks, from the promoters? Like, this, can I move this text box here? Or like, oh, I have this format there. Like, are you checking in with them regularly, or what does that kind of look like?
Feedback is more than welcomed. I mean, we want as much feedback as we possibly can get. It's no different than anything else. So if we have one person out of 1,000 that says they want to do this, I really want to diagnose on why.
Mm-hmm.
What is the reason you want to do that? Why do you want that text box moved over there? What is it giving you problems with? And then I'll probably reach out to, if one person asks me, I'm not going to just blow it off. I'm going to probably reach out to a dozen other scorers or whatever promoters and be like, okay, have you seen this to be an issue? Have you run into this being a problem before? And then if we get some feedback on that says yes, then we'll take it up the ladder, up to the, talking in our dev meeting and be like, this guy really wants this text box to be from here to here, and this is why, and this is the supporting whys
Mm-hmm.
on why we want to do it. The other thing is too, so that's one thing. We're any feedback is welcome. In fact, that's one of our biggest problems. We don't get enough feedback.
Mm-hmm.
We have some scores out there that, I don't know if they're just afraid to chime in and say, hey, this ain't working for me or what, but I hate it. I feel horrible when I hear that a scorer was doing this all season long. And then for whatever reason, if I'm there or one of our guys are there, we just happen to stumble across it and be like, if you click this instead of that, you'd save a half hour every night.
Yeah.
So that's the hardest part for us, to get that feedback. The other thing is it's pretty black and white. I mean, our software is all essentially, it's like Microsoft Word, right? Everybody knows how to use Microsoft Word. You know how to bold something, you know how to italicize it, you know how to underline something, you know how to create a new paragraph, you know how to print. Well, that's, like Facebook. Everybody knows how their Facebook page works because it's all the same. If I got questions from you, I could ask you, how do I make my page do this? I could ask. I don't need to call Facebook. I can just ask you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things, we took the Facebook approach versus the MySpace approach, and try to make everything smell the same, taste the same, look the same. That way, if there is internal support, that one scorer can ask the other scorer. But if something's wrong with the amount of usage that we have, we know about it really fast.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. So I mean, if one scorer is having an issue with something and I get a phone call or I get an email saying, something's broke, I just, by the time I get that, I get 30 more, so then we're able to have, our great staff be able to jump on and fix whatever needs to fix, or, but generally at the end, like right now in our race management software for all of our racetracks for promoters and scorers, we have a little thing on the top, like a survey thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we put that out there the last couple months of the season, and they can free will. We pick a few things of what we're working on, what they'd like to see the most for next season, and then we have a kind of an open discussion area where they can label out the things they like, the things they don't like. What are some of the problems outside of MyRacePass that they're having as a promoter, as a scorer? So maybe that's the other thing too, is if a promoter or scorer is having issues with, I don't care if it's the hot dogs or if it's the Bud Light versus Miller Lite, or let us know, because maybe there's something that we can do. And
Mm-hmm.
technology is an amazing thing. So just give me the problem. Let us try to find a way to help solve it.
Yeah. And I guess kind of along those same veins is all of the things that you guys have going on. What's next for MyRacePass?
There's this last year has taught us a lot as a company. Obviously we're growing and bringing more and more racetracks on in the circle tracks. So obviously the next move is going to be, trying to get into different genres of motorsports. So we're working on some stuff. We'll probably have something that's in beta mode sometime next spring, and you'll start seeing us in different areas of the world of motorsports. That's the big thing. But what we've learned this year too is, with COVID and it's kind of refocused us on a couple things that we do. One of them being our ticket sales platform. There's a lot of things that we can do to make some amazing strides for marketing situations, I guess, for promoters, that we can retroactively, introduce for all the tickets that were sold this year. So that's going to be the big thing that we're working on this fall is improving our ticketing system. And I'm not afraid to say it. We've got a loyal customer base. We're doing some amazing things on it. We can get that ticket icon in front of hundreds of thousands of people versus just one ticket icon on their website. And so that's a cool aspect of what we're doing there. So it's right now it's just mainly, you know, the fantasy platform. You're going to see some really cool stuff coming out here for that. Right now, like I said, right now we're just kind of it's just kind of out there, kind of going. We just launched our all access plan. We had 3 plans: live, insider, and fantasy, which insider include live, fantasy include the other 2. Live was $8 a year, insider was $35 a year, and fantasy was $55 a year. We just recently, just like a day ago, launched our all access plan at just $5.99 a month. So you can try it for a while, see what you think, cancel anytime. You can play fantasy, you get to open up all your driver bios on the MyRacePass app. We got some big things coming to front face, some of the stuff that you can do in the app on the desktop version of profiles and stuff, which that's going to be a new thing coming here before PRI, you'll see. And then, you know, we're at the point now where we really got to focus. We got one more year before, as we've just kind of fine-tuned some of our other stuff that we've done, you know, tickets, fantasy, race management. We have a sanction management software that saves hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours for a sanctioning body. It will save money for the larger sanctioning bodies. It saves a lot of money. It also, you know, protects licenses and that kind of stuff. So there's some work we got to do on that. Because we have a lot of sanctions that are, you know, ready to come on board with that, for all the reasons I just said earlier. So nothing real big, I guess, is going to be coming down the pipeline right now. You're just going to see a lot more fine-tuned of what we got going on now. And then you'll see some stuff floating next summer of some different stuff that we're working on. And then you'll see a big launch come PRI next year.
I'll let you go. I certainly appreciate the time today, but I want to know like some more details about the fantasy thing. Like what does that like look like inside the app? You know, what are we picking drivers for points? Like, you know, kind of give me that rundown on what that fantasy looks like.
So it's fairly simple. It's all automated. So I mean, you could go on. The scorers don't have to do anything different to be able to have fantasy available on their profile on the app. We have an algorithm that generates how you rank them, but it's a pick'em style fantasy. So at the beginning of the night, you have once the entry list is built and the lineups are set, you can go to the fantasy tab on MyRacePass, the track you're at, and say there's 15 drivers. It's going to break it up. 5 packs of 3. So you pick one driver out of each of the 5 packs. So you're going to have your 5 drivers, right? And now you're just picking basically who's going to be better, right? What's cool about it is so then you have up until the first set of results. I'm giving away a little inside info. You have up until the first set of results get published in the app around race management to get your picks locked in. Does that make sense? So like heat race number 1, when the checker flag drops on that, you better have your picks ready, because the time the checkered flag drops, the picks are going to be locked. What's cool about it though is throughout the night, your points will change all night long. So when the heat 1 is over, if you had drivers in heat 1, you're going to see where you're at in points. When heat 2 is over, you're going to see where you're at in points. Heat 3, so on and so forth. And we have groups. Every group is a different, basically, class. So you got modified, stock cars, sprint cars, late models. So you have 4 classes, 4 groups. So you can pick all 4, pick through all 4, or you can just pick one if you want. And then you have your points total at the end of the night. And we also have a bonus for attendance points. So if you're at the facility, you'll get bonus points, and it'll show that under your name that you're attendant. And there's a lot of fun stuff that we're going to be able to do with that. But in a nutshell, it's just a pick'em style fantasy right now. There's no prizes. It's more so just talking to your buddies and, you know, trying to beat your buddy. And, you know, we'll have a lot of stuff. And there'll be some, I can't give it away, but there's going to be some really cool stuff coming down the pipeline with fantasy. And it's more so, you know, think of the season points at a racetrack. There's some fun stuff you do with that with the fans, and to have your own fantasy points, and it's going to be cool.
So it's like, it's not just even like the big stuff, the big series, the big events. Like if you're sitting at your local track and they have MyRacePass, like you could do the street stocks, like you could do literally everything all night long.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
You know, that's the cool thing about it is you could literally, like our biggest weekend, when I say weekend, I mean Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night of racing last year, we had over 600 events. You couldn't physically do this, but if you wanted to, you could play 600 fantasy events
That's awesome.
from your phone.
Yeah.
And it'd be playing people all over the world, and that's what's neat about it. It's not just one series that's following along. It's everybody. And so we did that for a couple of reasons. One, mainly because if I was 2012 again, and I was Josh Holt at Rapid Speedway in Rock Rapids, Iowa, and somebody came to me and said, I want you to use this race management software. It's going to help your night out. Okay, that's cool. We want to be able to automatically calculate your points. Okay, that's cool. Well, then we're going to provide an app for your fans to be engaged in throughout the night to learn about your drivers and learn about your races. Okay, that's cool. Well, then we're going to provide a fantasy platform for your fans and your drivers to be a part of, and for you to be able to maybe potentially sell sponsorship against, or whatever the case. And I'm like, I'm sold.
Yeah, that's great.
So that's the whole point of it, is to, I know we're running out of time, but all I care about, me, and I think most of all of our team feels the same way, is we want to make the sport as the best we possibly can. We want to provide our ability of development, our ability of the marketing side of it. We want to be able to have every racetrack out there be able to take advantage of that for not a lot of money. I mean, we're talking like $600 a year. A track can get all this stuff, and which is nothing, right? And we want to be able to engage that race fan. There are so many different things out there that a fan can go do. They can. There's a million different things. When I was a kid, there wasn't that much stuff. I didn't have a cell phone for starters. I didn't have that. I didn't have the weather app, which is the worst thing in the world for motorsports, because if there's any green blobs anywhere on the screen, it could be in Kentucky, and I'm looking at a race in South Dakota. I'm not going to go because it might rain. There's so many different curveballs that promoters have been thrown the last few years, and we're trying to help ease that. We want that race fan engaged the entire time they're there. We want that race fan to be able to go tell all their buddies how much fun they had, not only with the race and how cool the racing was, but how cool the experience was. That they tell all their buddies so they can come, and so that ultimately the promoters can sell more tickets, drivers get more exposure. It's just a big circle, and everything is better. And that's our goal. We just want to make it better.
Absolutely. Well, I'll let you go, but where can we find MyRacePass? Where do we go?
So all the social channels, obviously, find us on Facebook, give us a like. We're probably we're most active on that. And Twitter, obviously, we do as much as we can. So it's just MyRacePass, MyRacePass.com/Facebook/Twitter/Instagram/ and you'll get to all of our channels. And then obviously MyRacePass.com, check us out online. And then obviously the MyRacePass app, a lot of people got it. If you don't have it, be sure to get it. It's free to download. You can get it on the Google Play or the Apple App Store. We just launched our $5.99 a month all access plan. Check it out. Open yourself up to everything that MyRacePass can do, and I guarantee you won't be disappointed.
Awesome. Well, Josh, I appreciate the time today, and thank you for telling us the MyRacePass story.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me. Looking forward.